The story of Theodore Roosevelt's lifelong love affair with the North Dakota Badlands and the people and lifestyles of the West is the stuff that movies and books are truly made of. Roosevelt came to this land in the 1880s, seeking most of all, I think, a chance to restore his spirit after the sudden death of both his wife and his mother. He came as a young man also to hunt and to experience the excitement and the bullish, active lifestyle that he had already lived much of his life. To say that he contrasted with the people of this area is truly an understatement. There was very little similar between Theodore Roosevelt's background and the background of the people who lived in Medora and this area at that time. But I do want to say that there were some great similarities, and I've already mentioned one. He enjoyed hunting. He already enjoyed also being very plain-spoken and direct, not only in what he said, but what he did. When he tuned his body after being unhealthy as a young person in his adolescence, he became very interested in boxing and fist fighting, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it into his presidency and even into his post-presidency activities. He also loved animals. If you read about his life at Oyster Bay, Sagamore, Sagamore Hill, they had endless pets and horses and a stable right on their property on Long Island. So the similarities should be considered as well as the contrast between his personality and the people that were here. They grew, as one of the newspapers suggests, to have a great deal of respect for each other. And in his autobiography, Theodore Roosevelt says some things I think are pretty important to people in this area. He says, "I owe more than I can ever express to the West, which of course means to the men and women I met in the West. There were a few people of bad type in my neighborhood, but that would be true of every group of men, even in a theological seminary. But I could not speak with too great affection and respect of the great majority of my friends, the hard-working men and women who dwelt for a space of perhaps 150 miles along the Little Missouri River. I was always as welcome at their houses as they were at mine. Everyone worked, everybody was willing to help everyone else, and yet nobody asked for favors." It's my pleasure to recognize Mark Ames and call him forward. He's the great-grandson of Theodore Roosevelt, and he's here to accept the Great Westerner Award posthumously on behalf of Theodore Roosevelt, President of the United States. Thanks for coming out.
I'm very embarrassed to be receiving this award because it's not my award. My great-grandfather would be tickled pink to be the guy receiving this award. He clearly loved North Dakota. He counted his friends that were cowboys as valued friends. And he I think, truly qualifies as somebody that you would all understand well. Let me point out that when he came out here, he spent, in those days, this is 115 years ago, he spent $80,000 to buy a couple of ranches. And 113 years ago, there was a real bad winter out here. And he lost his shirt. He lost about $40,000. And in modern day terms, that means he lost close to $500,000. So he wasn't necessarily a really successful rancher. And some of you may understand that. I would imagine there's a few people in this room that have had a couple of setbacks in ranching. His whole philosophy on living was that it's really important to try. Even if you don't succeed, it's the guy that tries. That was how he looked at the world. And I think one of the reasons why he was so in love with this area is that the people that I've met here, the people that he grew to love here, all are people that give it a really solid, hard try. And I think that he'd view this honor as being somebody here saying, yeah, he was one of us. He was like us that way. Now, I think if you were to see him today as he appeared back then, you would agree that he probably didn't match entirely. I mean, I come from the East, he came from the East. He came from the East much better dressed than I am. He tended to wear silk scarves. He wore alligator cowboy boots. Now, somebody here probably has alligator boots on, but he wore sealskin chaps. Now, I don't think there's anybody here that's got sealskin chaps. He was a bit of a dandy, but he was a hardworking guy, and he loved this area, and I know that he'd be really very pleased to receive this award. I don't know that I quite qualify, but I'm happy to stand in his stead to receive it. Thank you all for making it possible.